and welcome back. Welcome to 2025, where here on the channel we're going to get more production quality and more content out. So to start off, 2025 is going to be a review of a game that I finished in 2024, and that is 𝕚𝕟𝕬𝕟. This poor game, I needed to have reviewed this game weeks ago, but with the end of the year rush of content that needed to just come out due to time, this guy got pushed back. So thanks to the lovely people over at Minimap, I got a review code for the game 𝕚𝕟𝕬𝕟, which is a survival crafting game to where essentially you go through with a singular statue that dictates this land is your land. And you can build up a little village by placing different tiles down, and then you can just grow your village by unlocking stuff like a stove, a crafting table, workbench, a bunch of stuff. And how do you progress in this game? Well, you have to find different resources, and there are bosses to defeat to progress. Now, to progress through what exactly? There is a map, there are 4 zones, one of them is new. So you will start off in this lovely green grass area, and that starting zone will be pretty tame. This is where you'll try and get a grasp on how to use all of the different mechanics, including one of my favorite aspects of the game, the Grammys. Now, no, I did not say grannies, I said Grammys, like programming. And that is the core aspect that makes this survival crafting game stand out from the cajillion other survival crafting games that will be taking up my time at some point this year. Now, you will have 2 types of Grammys. One will be your own buddy. I just so brilliantly named mine Buddy. And Buddy will go through your entire adventure with you. Buddy is going to be your partner in crime as you go through, collect stuff, shoot deer, and defeat giant golems. I wish I was joking. It took me forever. Died so many times. But the coolest part about Buddy is you can program Buddy to do certain actions, such as going and collecting berries, breaking ore, or even helping you fight. I actually think Buddy just fights automatically. Or even helping you chop trees. Now, Buddy doesn't do all these things automatically. The only thing that he really does automatically is help you fight. He can either shoot arrows from the backline or even come up and attack with a sword. Now, if you want Buddy to do specific things like, say, helping you chop down trees or break some rocks and collect all of that, you will have to program Buddy. Now, there are several pre-programmed things, very basic, such as fishing, chopping, helping collect things, all of that. Those are pre-programmed. You just have to go select the pre-input action. Very, very simple and a great introductory to programming language if you have zero idea what you're doing. Kind of like me, I know the very, very basics, so I wasn't super shocked when I saw it. But don't worry if you're completely new to programming and just seeing that freaks you out. So Buddy is actually quite simplistic in what they can do to help you. The city Grammys are really where it's at and where you can get creative with the coding. Now, like I said, you can expand your ground using tiles. Those can be like indoor tiles or outdoor tiles such as farmland. Now, by the end of my lots of hours with this game, I had a small utopia. That consisted of, I had a tree nursery with one of the Grammys planting trees, one chopping down the trees, and then the one that planted them picking up the lumber that fell. I had a duo that was working solely on crafting different materials that I needed based on different materials that were already, finished. They were making stuff like arrows or large bricks or giant pieces that were made from lumber. Basically all of the crafting materials that I didn't want to sit around for 2 hours doing, I just had them do while I was roaming around or even fixing the compound. Now there are 2 or 3 different types of cooking items that you can get. The first one being a giant stew pot, and then you upgrade to a cooking table. And so each time I got one of those, I added a chef. So we constantly had food going because food gives you different kind of buffs. Most of the time it just gives you more stamina and HP, which is going to be very, very important when you're going against the bosses. And then of course you can farm. And so I took a bunch of the seeds that I found in each of the region and just started planting them. And then I had the aptly named carrot and cabbage tending to those fields, and then as stuff grew more, we had stuff like potato and insert other vegetable here. Now, they were great to an extent. Now, yes, they could go and plant, they could like tend to the growing crops, they could even collect them and put the fully grown carrot, cabbage, insert other vegetable here, into a specific crate that you programmed for them. The only problem was they didn't pick up the seeds. So every now and then I would just go through, walk through the grounds, collect the seeds, and then put them in the designated boxes. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that programming can only do so much. So there's two types of boxes for storage, one being a singular item storage and one being a multi-item storage. Now, for multi-item boxes, the top item in the selection screen for it is what will be showing on top, and that is all that can be picked up by one of the Grammys. So if you say have coal at the top, but you need the wooden arrows 3 items down, you will need to change up the order of your storage. Now, you can, if there is empty slots or slots available for said item, the Grammys can put whatever item into the chest. It's just what is taken out that needs to be specific to what is shown on top of the box. That's really the only caveat that these Grammys have, and the only time to where it's kind of annoying, because I would have to be in the middle of something and then tell my friend Amy from the Nerd House podcast, hey, can you go swap these items because I really need this Grammy to pick up this item from this box, but it's like 3 rows down. The Grammys are very efficient, but they're also very squishy. So unless you are smart and build some raised platforms to protect and enclose your little compound, the elements and the predators can get to them. Now, there are wolves that lurk around, and they're the real main villain of this game. Screw any bosses. No, these wolves will just walk right into your compound and start attacking your Grammys, whether you're there or not. Now, I have many times come back to my compound to put away my valuable resources that I've gathered, only to find my entire compound full of Grammys, slaughtered, forced to sleep for 3 minutes before resetting and being completely fine. Now, the first time I came across this, I was very worried, but yeah, it's just 3 minutes and they're back. Same goes for your buddy Grammy. If they end up perishing in battle, it's about a 3-minute reset and then they'll be completely fine. So this is kind of a warning. Either come back at nighttime to kind of reassess where your plan is, or build some walls to protect your Grammys. Don't do what I did. You will come back to many, many wolves attacking your many, many Grammys. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if I run out of Grammys to do stuff on my compound? That is probably not gonna happen. Now, as you're going through leveling up your world, like I said, you will need to be gathering things. They come pretty simple, and you will eventually get this world leveling machine. And each time you get your world level up, more times than not, there will be 3 more Grammys, 3 or 4, that you can just buy. And I had a whole stack of them at one point. I loved taking pictures of them when they would spawn in, because they would spawn in from the same exact point. See Exhibit A, B, and what the hell, Exhibit C. So yeah, the Grammys will never become insufficient for the numbers. You will have plenty. Every single task can be done by a Grammy in the compound, essentially. And I got through the leveling process pretty easy. So each ring zone on your map that you will explore will have a different corresponding color in the grass and a different boss to defeat. Now, how to get to the boss is kind of annoying for some things, and it is each zone has a specific unique structure to find. The first zone has these giant towers, and others have these temples that you have to go into, so on and so forth. I don't want to spoil too much. But essentially, it's rinse and repeat. You will go into these things and find 2, 4, depending on the zone, gems that you get from the very end of whatever path you're on. And once you get enough of these gems, you will need to unlock where the boss is, go to boss, put in gems, defeat boss, get boss drop item, continue on. Now, it's pretty rinse and repeat, and I will say that the actual leveling up and world processing part did get a bit stale, and I actually mainly focused on building up my city with my Grammys, because that was the part that I really loved, and I do feel like that is the strongest part of the game, and especially if you can play with a friend. I did the first 10 or so hours alone, and I got really burnt out because it is a huge map. And so I convinced Amy to jump on with me, and it was a lot more fun. We could go at twice the pace. We figured out how to do some neat tricks with the Grammy programming. Now, one of the things is you can have the Grammys fish, but they won't put them in boxes. They will just hand them to you if you're nearby. We finessed it to where they would put them in the boxes. So that was amazing. That was probably our greatest achievement in the entire game, was figuring out this programming. Keep in mind, she was a CS major, and we still struggled with basic coding. But either way, great experience. And so really the repetitiveness was the only thing that really stopped us from loving the game. I would ask her, hey, Amy, do you want to play some more, mess around with stuff? And for the first bit, it was yeah, and we would spend some time exploring, mainly fixing up our place and getting more tools for our compound to grow and thrive. And then she started being like, I feel like we've played this game before. Because we do tend to play a lot of these survival type games, base building aspects. We played stuff like Raft, 7 Days to Die, we played those games to death. And so the real main aspect was building up your little town. Now I've seen people make beautiful towns from this, so that alone. Now I can see people with a real eye for architecture spend hours in this. You could turn it into a more simplistic Sims, maybe. I don't know, little house builder. But once we were satisfied with it, we kind of didn't have a whole reason to go back much. And so I will say this was a very satisfying game to play. It was very fun. But it's definitely not going to be one of those longevity games that you're playing for 100 hours. I did get well worth the amount that I didn't pay for it. But I think it was good. I think Amy, who did have to pay for the game, enjoyed it enough to where she wasn't upset that she had to spend money to play it with me. The designs of the area, the different arenas, I thought were really fun. The attacks and the battling styles were pretty simplistic, but it was enough to where you would be on edge during fights, and I did lose a number of times to different things. But there were different aspects that made traversing a bit easier. There were portals that you could set up to where, if you're smart enough, you will set it up next to the giant golem mark, and then when you die, you can just transport back, and you don't have to do 20-minute walk of shame back to where you died. Now, when you do die, because you will eventually, that's just how survival games work, you will drop one of the tombstones to mark your death, and then you can go back and get everything that's in your backpack. Now, everything that's in your quick access toolbar will stay with you, so you're not completely naked out in the wilderness, but if you have stuff in your backpack, you will have to go and retrieve that. Now, the bosses for each zone did feel very appropriately powerful. We did struggle a bit for when we got to later ones. We would set up portals, and then when one of us would inevitably die, we could just kind of cycle back to where they would never be respawning on us and we would lose all our progress. Is that cheating? Probably. We didn't care. We just wanted to have fun and defeat the boss. But yeah, they were no walk in the park, and even though the bosses are hard, there are mini bosses scattered around that are also kind of a challenge. Now, this is kind of what I would call damage checks, more or less, to where if you can't defeat the mini bosses, you're going to really struggle to even do half of the main boss's health bar. And this is when you should really start checking to see if there are more armor and weapons that you can upgrade, because you've probably forgotten. Now, as you progress through the worlds, each zone will more or less unlock a new weapon and armor set for you to craft and upgrade, and that should more or less get you to an okay place to take on the boss. Now, that was another fun thing, would be trying to fight bosses under-leveled or under-prepared. They didn't go well, but they were kind of fun when we got close. And having two people, I don't believe, raised the health or attack power behind anything in the world. So overall, this game was really fun. It was nice. It was my obsession for about a month or so. I really did enjoy my time with this game, especially once Amy started playing with me. I just love survival co-op games that you can play with a friend or two. I would definitely say if you like programming aspects in games, maybe check this out, put it on your wish list. And yeah, that's basically all I have for this game. Thank you for everyone who watched this video. I hope you got something out of it. And if you liked it enough, please give me a thumbs up. That way my videos keep showing up on your For You page. And if you want to go the extra mile, give me that subscribe so that you don't lose me in the sea of YouTube content. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again in a future video.